Right, well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema Studio presented by Celebs.com here at TIFF. Tony Krawitz, Thanos Samaras, Kodi Smit-McPhee, Ewen Leslie. First, congratulations on the film last night. How is it screening it for different audiences and feeling the response? Tony, have you noticed any difference perhaps between screening it, back in Australia to people that are kind of familiar with you and your work and over here?
Well, yes and no. Also, the film's based on a book by a really well-known Australian writer. So we've had a couple of screenings in Australia, and a lot of the people were fans of the book. So it's been great coming to Toronto for people who know nothing about the book and just seeing the film just as the film.
Yeah.
And it's also great because the film deals with a character who's Australian but who has European roots, which a lot of North Americans have as well, both Canadians and Americans. So it's been great speaking to people here who really kind of get the themes of the film and that kind of idea of looking to Europe, where your grandparents and stuff came from.
Ewen, your last name doesn't suggest that you're of Greek heritage, nor did it suggest you were of Jewish heritage when you went on Jew Boy with Tony as well. What is it about him throwing you into these ethnic situations?
Actually, when I was auditioning for it, I really wanted it, but at the same time I was kind of thinking, I don't know if Tony's going to cast me because I played a Jewish character in Jew Boy. But I don't know. I mean, the great thing was Christos, the writer of the novel, was really helpful. I met up with him and he kind of took me around to a lot of Greek cafes in Melbourne, and we spoke a lot about it. So, and I spoke to a lot of Greek Australian actors and as many people as I could kind of talk to and soak it up.
Yeah. Although what struck me there was when you said when you were auditioning.
Yeah.
So he still made you audition for it.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. I felt really bad about that in some ways, but there were a couple of really important reasons, and one, it was to be really specific about the character and being a Greek character and he's not Greek, and also just in terms of the producers and the investors being able to go, here's Ewen, whose work they all know really well, but doing something which is so different from who he is.
Right.
And the work he's done before.
So part of it was proving to them and just assuring them.
Yeah.
And Thanos, obviously of Greek descent, given the name. But how did you feel going back, shooting in Athens and all these places with these guys, obviously having accents and coming from other places? How, to you, did it feel like they were being true to the region and authentic? And how did that feel?
Well, it felt like the story and the reality of shooting was kind of close. There were a bunch of Australians in Greece trying to assimilate and kind of blend in, but I don't know. They just seemed very comfortable and.
We worked with a Greek crew as well, so it was a real great mix of Australians
of people,
and Greeks.
Yeah.
So in some ways it was like a Greek film because most of the crew were Greek.
Yeah, it was an Greek-Australian mix within the movie, and in the reality of shooting it was pretty much the same thing.
And probably a lot of North Americans don't realise how many Greeks or how Greek Melbourne is as a city and how many Greeks there are in Australia.
Yeah.
So that culture might come across so automatically for Australians, but bringing it across here, a whole different ballgame. How is that logistically moving for all of you? Moving across, Paris, Athens, outside of Athens, in the hills and stuff like that. Just logistically making a movie of that scope. What kind of time did you have in your hands to get to know the areas before you shot there?
Well, my wife, her name's Kate Shortland, made a film in Germany last year as well. So it was just fortuitous that we were both making films in Europe. So we spent the year based in Europe. So I was able to spend a lot of time going to Greece and getting to know the country better and do a lot of location searching and research. And the same with Paris and Budapest. So that helped, but it was a logistical wrangle to shoot in 4 countries on the low budget.
Were you shooting a lot of stuff guerrilla style, or did you really hook up with locals and location managers and things like that in those areas that helped you out?
Yeah, well, like I said, worked really closely with location managers early on, which is one of my favourite parts of filmmaking, just being able to soak up the locations. But when we were going, there were 10 Australians who went. So that was like the guerrilla crew. And then we'd pick up more conventional sized crews when and if we needed them. But we were sometimes shot really conventionally, and sometimes we're able to just go, there's a protest on in Athens, let's just 6 of us walk down and just throw Ewen in the middle of it. And
That
film,
wasn't on the call sheet.
Right, I remember you last night saying a little bit about that, about walking into this kind of melee of people protesting in Athens. The film has so much about the history of Europe and the kind of, you was talking about the bigotry last night, but the immediate history going back to the Second World War and stuff like that. But did you feel now, I mean, Greece is a pretty volatile country right now, did that kind of help your situation in terms of just tapping into that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess the thing is the character, he's a guy who's completely out of his comfort zone and completely out of his element. So that was sort of perfect for me in a way. Like, I didn't get to see any of the places before we actually shot there. We'd kind of hit the ground running and just immediately start shooting. So seeing all these places for the first time and meeting actors for the first time, not getting to kind of meet them before or talk about it, or, a few Skypes here and there.
Did you Skype with Kodi?
No, I refused.
So Kodi, because you're living in California right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So had you met Tony before you went to location to start shooting, or was it all faith based?
No, it's been actually a lot of Skype. This is a big advertisement for Skype, because we all we were rehearsing on Skype and just talking about the characters and stuff, and then like Ewan said, we all got on set and we all kind of met for the first time, and then it was just kind of a mix of soup then, and we just started from there.
And for you, it's a quiet character, but definitely kind of has this strong European sense as well.
Right.
Have like your last name as well, Smit-McPhee, again, not very European, or Eastern European at least, or whatever. So what did you do in terms of kind of tapping into what he wanted?
I really just did a lot of research on kind of my side of the story. At the start, I just read the whole story as itself and looked at everything, the political side and all that, and then I just worked on Joseph and I did a lot of research on refugees and stuff, and what their life is about and how they're always moving, and they're very wise at a young age, and I just worked off that, and I had a lot of fun doing this character. Yeah,
and your work with Ewen as well. Obviously, it's pretty personal. Do you try and create like an intimate sort of set for those situations? Because it seems like there were a lot of people around in some of those moments.
Well, I suppose it's a mix depending on the scene. Some scenes that were more intense is we just would clear the room, which we had a great first AD, and basically just work, because we were so limited in rehearsal time, that we just go work it like a rehearsal. So we'd work it up, and chat about it, and then bring in the crew and film it.
Have you ever obsessed about something the way that Ewan's character was obsessed by?
All the time. Yeah, no, I'm pretty obsessive character. I think the obsessive nature of the character was something I found really intriguing, of someone who just can't let go of something, and also someone who's trying to find out the truth, which is sort of at the heart of what the character's trying to do in the film.
Yeah, Ewan, what was it for you? What did you tap into to find that sort of that real determination that he had?
I don't know, like, it's funny because in many ways, like especially at the end of the film, he is certainly a victim, but he's kind of completely complicit in his own sort of downfall. He's the one that's kind of moving forward, and he's asking the questions, and he's the one, that brings Kodi back to the hotel room, and I suppose I don't know, he's a very different guy from me in a way, and I think there's a version of it that could have been sort of the wide-eyed, innocent Australian who goes to, deep, dark, scary Europe. And Tony was a lot more interested in having someone, it's kind of a bit more arrogance to him, like, I know how the world works, I understand these political situations, and when he gets there, it becomes increasingly clear that he doesn't, and begins this spiral. Like, I think we were a lot more interested in that guy unraveling than the kind of innocent. Yeah.
After the screening, a lot of people were gobsmacked when, often it takes time for people to warm up for a Q&A, but last night it wasn't like anyone left. It's just that everyone was kind of still soaking in the kind of gut punch that happened.
Well, you kind of get to the end of the film, it's
as
like, any
were
questions?
we. It was the first time
It was the first time.
Koji and I
Yeah.
saw the movie, and I mean, I was speechless. I just didn't want to say anything.
I was like, I had such
Gobsmacked.
I don't know what it was, adrenaline or just, it was so intense that I don't know, I was like shaking through the whole thing. And I think it was because it starts off slow and you feel so comfortable, and then just so much happens, and then it keeps hitting you and hitting you and hitting you, and it doesn't get any better. And then it's just, you go on this huge adrenaline ride.
Have you been thinking about it like since?
Yeah, and I've been thinking that, you know, these guys have seen it again and again, but I think once is enough for me. It's very...
Yeah, for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the second time I'd seen it, so I thought it was a bit easier, but it was still, you know, it's still quite...
Is it hard watching yourself? Because it is a fairly exposing role.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always knew that. I mean, one of the things I was so attracted to it was because I was kind of really scared by it. You know, I read the script and was like, right, that's a really challenging role. That's going to require a lot of bravery, you know. And I suppose, I mean, you're always going to look at something you did and go, oh, that, but, you know, I guess it kind of really required you just to sort of throw yourself out there and throw yourself into it.
Well, I know a lot of people last night were blown away by the film. I certainly was, and so congratulations on making another powerful movie, and looking forward to seeing where it goes next.
Great. Thanks.
Cheers. Thanks,
Thank you,
man.
man.